Hello everyone, it's Julie from Camellia Crafts Designs. Welcome and welcome back. Yes, this is part 3 of my no-sew junk journal. The eagle-eyed amongst you might notice that this is not the journal I did in part 1 and 2. Now that's because part 3 of it has disappeared into ether. Yeah, it's not uploaded properly to YouTube, which I didn't realise, and I've gone and deleted it from everywhere else. So I'm going to redo the part 3. You will have noticed on the thumbnail that the book that you see, it does have this same fabric, which is it's from the Country Diary collection, Honeysuckle Rose. I believe this is from the 80s. I managed to pick some up on eBay. And I did do a little bit of sewing, although I call this a no-sew junk journal. I cut my fabric to cover the spine like so, and I just sewed along that edge just for a bit of decoration. But I'm not going to do it on this, just to show you it looks just as good without it. You're not going to need to sew it to stop it fraying because we're going to glue it. Wherever the glue is, it will stop fraying. Look at me, I can't help but do this. Pull the bits off. So, in the last part we covered the pages with our base paper, and you did see me paint the outer one. I can't remember if I painted the inside of the spine, but I decided to go ahead and paint that. I've just used this Nuvo acrylic paint, just the same that I picked up at Every Crafts a Pound for £1, but any acrylic paint will do. We don't want anything fancy, it's just so that the craft doesn't show through. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut some fabric to cover my spine. Now when I'm deciding how much I need, I've got the outside of the book. You can see I didn't do this one quite as neat with my Tyvek, but it's going to be covered. So we know the spine's 2 inches, but then we've got the little gaps. We want to cover the Tyvek, and I like to have my fabric come at least 3/4 of an inch. In this one, do you know, I might make this one a bit more. I might have 1 inch on either side. So I'm going to measure 1 inch from that spine onto my book. Can you see? Yeah, you can. And I want 1 inch again onto my book that way. Then I want a smidgen extra, just because when this folds, some of the fabric will disappear into that crease. So 1 inch from that edge would be 4 1/4. So I'm going to do it 4 1/2 in total. So I want a piece of fabric 4 1/2 inches wide. The book is 9 1/4 roughly. I want that to fold over onto the inside about 1 inch. Maybe not 1 inch, maybe 3/4. So I want 9 1/4 plus 3/4, which is 10, plus another 3/4, which is 10 3/4. So I'll do it 11. So I want a piece of fabric. I'm going to have to write this down because I forgot the widths already. That's just how I am. So it wants to be 11 inches by, was it 4 1/2 we said? No, it weren't 4 1/2, was it? It can't have been 4 1/2. Yes, it was 4 1/2. 11 by 4 1/2. Now this is a lovely fabric. It's not really stretchy. I think it's what they call poly cotton. Just put my book out it way while we do it. And there isn't really a direction to this pattern, so it doesn't matter how I cut it. You can see how the last book I made, I ripped it along that edge. So I'm going to come in 4 1/2 inches from that edge, and I'm going to rip up again. So let's get my little Tim Holtz snippy scissors, and I'm just going to snip. I've put the 4 1/2 at the edge, and I'm going to snip. Then I'm going to rip. I find when you're ripping fabric, the faster you rip, the more likely your edges are to curl. So I'm just going to go a little bit steady with this, because I can't be bothered to get my iron out. Yeah, I've got a nice, easy, convenient travel iron, but I can't be bothered to get it out and use it. It's under my desk in a box. It would require, bending and reaching and stretching and plugging in and then burning. When I forget to unplug it and put my arm on it. Right, so we have that one piece. I'm just going to bring my book in a second. I like to just check, yeah. So let's put that even. That's about how much it's going to come over onto the cover. So I'm quite happy with that. Now, is this piece going to be long enough to cover the inside and the outside? I really can't remember that from the other one I made. So we decided we need the first one 11 inches long. So let's measure 11. And I'm going to snip again. No, it's so not going to be long enough. So we're going to have to rip another piece that is 4.5 inches wide. In fact, I'm going to make the inner piece a tiny bit under 4.5 inches. So it's not going to disappear into as big a crease. So let's measure another 4.5 inch strip. I use all my little offcuts for making clusters, so it doesn't really bother me that I might maybe make something other than a cluster with that, I don't know. Right, 4.5 inches. Turn your ruler right way up, woman, so that you can measure it properly. I'm off bottom at desk. Not quite disappeared, have I? So I'm going to make that just under 4.5 inches. So snippety snip, rippity rip. There we go. Now I can put my large piece away for my next project. It's a lovely thick fabric, this. It's really nice quality. It was advertised as curtain fabric. So you know how curtains are thicker than, say, a sheet. I do have an old Edith Holden quilt cover. I'm saying old, I bought it as new again, but it was from the 80s. It's a much thinner fabric. It has its place, but I'm loving working with this. Now this one I'm not going to bother measuring. I'm just going to eyeball it. We want it to come to the edge. You could have it coming over the edge to hang out if you want. I don't personally want that. So I'm just going to snip it there. And rip again. Nice and steady, so we're less likely to get any curling. The thicker the fabric is, the less likely it is to curl anyway. That's what I find. I always said there's probably some scientific reason for that, but I don't know what it is. Right, so that's going to be our inner piece of fabric. Yes, we like. Do you know, I didn't really need that as wide because I'm going to cover the fabric with the paper on the inside. But hey ho, I've done it now, haven't I? Right. Like I said before, I did sew the edges of this on my original one. But I had a comment that I've just read before filming this, how someone's really happy that I'm doing a no-sew journal because she has a toxic relationship with her sewing machine, and yeah, I get that. I used to have a very toxic relationship with my old one. Well, it wasn't my old one, it was my mum's. And it's a Jones. Now I looked at what a Jones machine was, and they were renamed. Apparently Jones was a company that was then bought by a brother, and they carried on making the same machine with the brother name on. So mine's about 40-year-old if it's still got a Jones name on. Right, I've just frayed those edges a little bit. Now it's very difficult, this material, to even pull a thread off when it's not already loosened, so I've no worries about this unravelling when it's on my book. Right. Now I'm going to look roughly where I need to put my glue to. I don't worry too much about getting it all the way out. As long as I've got my spine stuck down and my creases, I'm happy, because I can always lift that up and put some more glue down edge. So first things first, I'm going to put my glue all over the spine, and I absolutely hate doing this job because I usually end up having to use my finger to spread it out. and I can't stand the feel of it. So I'm going to get one of my little school glue spreaders to help me a little bit. And I've got my cloth on hand to wipe my fingers. Now, you can use Fabri-Tac. I use Fabri-Tac. You can use Collal if you're brave. It seems very thin. I've not used it before on fabric. And you can use the 3-in-1. There are many white glues that are fine for fabric. If you look at the description on PVA, most of them say they're fine for fabric. So what am I going to use? I can't decide. I think I used 3-in-1 on the last one. You can hear me rummaging in my glue drawer, can't you? I do have a white glue and I can't find it that I wanted to show you. I'm not going to pause it and show it you. I'll show it you on another video because I'm going to use my 3-in-1. So here we go. So I'm quite liberal with it. We always have to do this, don't we, 3-in-1. Mine gets so blocked now I don't use it as often. So I'm just going to spread it around my spine, quite liberally at first. And I'm going to come in with my school glue spreader. Oh, I love this thing. So better than having to get your finger in it. I'm going to make sure I get glue in these creases. You find the glue doesn't soak into the Tyvek. We want it spread out thin enough that it's not going to soak through the fabric. So I'm just happy as long as I've covered my Tyvek. I know that's definitely going to be underneath my fabric. You probably can't even see what I'm doing here. It's really hard sometimes for glue to show up. I need a smidgen more. Oh, come on. Don't take all day. We don't want this drying before I get it on. But like I said, I'm concentrating mainly on the middle because I can lift the other bits up. I'm now going to put a bit extra in my crevices.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
Every time. And I'm going to have to use my finger here because I can't tell if I've got it in with glue spreader. Oh, that's still lovely and tacky. That's my crevices full. Wipe my finger. Grab my fabric. And I'm eyeballing it. So I like fold it in half. Yeah, I've got my middle on. Grab my T-ruler just so I know it's roughly straight. That were as straight as a donkey's hind leg, wasn't it? We're roughly the same front and back. And now I'm going to come in and press it down from the middle outwards. I'm going to get my bone folder. I'm going to press into those creases. I'm going to smooth along backwards and forwards with my bone folder. Like I said, I'm really not bothered how well it's stuck on these edges, because I can come back in and put more glue in. It's just this spine part I'm bothered about first. That seems to have stuck really well. And my gaps seem pretty even. So I'm now going to come in and put an extra bit of glue underneath. Yeah, you can see where I need it. Look. This is where I'm going to have to use my finger again. I don't like it. Do you know, I'm just going to clear this out with my big pin. Make sure it's not going to come out too slow. Maybe ready for thinning this. It's got quite thick. But then again, when you're using an actual fabric, you want it thick. I'm just going to squeeze it onto my finger for this. I'm just going to do it like so. if you do get it beyond the edge of the fabric, it balls up and rubs off very easily. This, I'm just really not happy at how thick it is. It's bittersweet. It's making my life easier to stick this without any glue seeping through the fabric, but it's making it much harder to get out of the bottle. Much harder. So now I'm going to press that down. Much better. And I'm just going to turn this upside down because I can't work on that side. Oh, we need a lot more glue on this. So I'm actually going to put some onto the book. If you try and do a huge area at once with this, sometimes you find it's dried too much and then it won't stick. Especially if you're putting it onto a porous surface like the paper. It's not too bad on the Tyvek. It seems to stay sticky a lot longer. I'm going to work that into the crease again and then press that down. I'm just going to, oh yeah, by working it into the crease you've still got some room to open it, and that is then going to be moved over there. I've got my fingers sticking out with glue on. Go into that crease again. Right, I'm happy with that, so I am going to turn it over and glue this bit. So get your glue out. Again, it's not new this, you've probably seen loads of people do it. They probably do it better than I do. Now, I know I call this a no-sew junk journal, but this is actually how I do my junk journal covers if I'm making a hardback one as well. You know, if I'm then going to do a hidden spine, or even if I'm going to sew through onto the outside. Like I say, it's not my method, it's the base of the book is Zoe Tofield's method. Do you know, I forgot to put a link in the burst too. Sorry, Zoe. And the no-sew binding was originally, I think, by Johanna Clow, and I saw Barbara at 49 Dragonflies do it. And she linked to Johanna's video, sorry. And they're both amazing. Right, I know I've got glue coming out onto there, but it doesn't matter because that's going to get covered. Just going to poke that down. Yeah, everything's moving freely and nicely, and I'm really happy with the amount of fabric I've got overhanging. I don't know which is the front or the back yet, doesn't really matter, but like I said, you don't need that line of stitching. You may not have even noticed the line of stitching on my first one because I did it in cream. I think, you know, because it was a custom order and it was going to someone else, I'm thinking, I'm going to put that line of stitching down, that's not coming undone. Right, that will be dry very quickly because it's the 3-in-1. So all that's left to do now is choose my covers for the front and the outside. So I'm just going to pause and I'll be back with you in a second. Hello, and I'm back, and you will not believe how long I have just been flicking through Edith Holden leftover pages from the books I've gutted to decide which ones I want to use. So I've given up on that idea and I've cracked open a new book. And this way I'll be able to explain to you why I'm deciding that I do or don't want certain pages. Right, I love that page, but if I put it on the front it's going to cut off half the January and yeah, a lot of the birds. So I'm looking for a page with most of the things to the right and perhaps lower. Also, I'd already used all my favourite pages, you know, like ones with flowers and butterflies. I'm a nightmare for using all my favourites and leaving the rest. I don't want that, but that's a candidate for the inside cover. You will have also spotted my mistake if you're eagle-eyed. I put my fabric on before doing my front cover. So I'm going to pretend that I planned it. And I planned it, yeah. You see, I've not glued it all the way down to edge. So I can just tuck whichever piece of paper I want under the edge, can't I? Yeah. So yes, it was a plan, I'm afraid. I did it on purpose. Yeah. Well, we know better. But it could have been a plan. Right. I want some of the pages with lots on. I apologise that I'm flicking quickly. Now, this is the page I used for the custom order for the lady. She specifically wanted these 2 pages on the front and back cover. She wanted the daffodils front and this on the back. I'm very tempted to use the same page, but this time put that on the front and that on the back. I'm very tempted, because these again are some of my favourite pages. I do love the March pages. Shall I show you my favourite March page? We've already flicked past it. It's the March cover page. And do you know why it's my absolute favourite? Where's it gone? I already took it out of this book. No, it's here. Because it's got my birthday on it. March 22. That page was made for me, wasn't it? Anyway. So I'm very tempted to use these again. Do you know what? I'm gonna make it exactly the same because it was so nice. So let's find my little snippety malt scissors again. It's now buried under a boatload of book pages. So now I don't gut the whole book at once. I tend to just snip out the signatures I want, and that's why I end up with so many part books. I really need to have a mass envelope and ephemera making session with my leftover pages. And I love those tiny scissors for snipping the signatures. Yeah, just don't even go there with trying to find another page to use. I'm going to put that on the back and front. Now the inside covers, I think I'm just going to go for some florals. And I do love that page. I love these butterflies. Oh, look at that one. Oh, wow. I'm going to go for that. That was an easy decision, wasn't it? So I want to snip the centre of this signature. Oh, look at that one again. I like to use that in century journals. I've never really used it on a cover. Oh, I just fussy cut. And I even fussy cut that little butterfly out. Even if he is across the crease. I think I did a project with him. It lays flat when you glue him down. Oop. No accidents. Doing well. So which one did I decide on? That. I quite often don't use that page because I always want to use that one. So I'm just going to go for the pages I want. I'm not looking at the backs of them. I can use the other pages on the inside notebooks. So that were easy. Well, that's so easy. It's always easy when you've got a full book though, isn't it? It's using all those others that's not so easy. Right, so here are our front and back covers. I'm using that on the front. Can we tuck it in? We'll just see the march. Perhaps if I cut right up to that little man's tail, it'll still be okay. We're going to cover the curly up on the march. I think I can live with that though. I think that's not going to vex me too much. Or do I want to change my mind? This is why my projects take forever. Do I want to change my mind? I couldn't use that because I'd miss the swallows. I could get 2 of the swallows on. No, we'd still end up with that little man's tail. Let's tuck that under and see. No, we'd lose half the flower and the little man's tail. Not occurring, that, is it? What about this side? We could cut off up to the writing. Ooh, we'd only miss a little bit of him. No, stick to plan A, Julie. have that on the outside, inside, these on the outside. I'm going to grab my little trimmer, and firstly I'm going to trim along the crease. So we are going to lose a little bit right up to his tail, then we'll get some of the curly Q on for March, won't we? Can I live with that? Let's see. So that's where it will be on the front. I'm using the full height of the book page. Let's grab the piece of fabric that we're going to put in the middle. And I'm going to use it to cover up the bit of the book page we're not going to see. Here you are. We'll see it from there. I can live with the curly bit on the march being covered up. That's how it's going to look. I'm happy with that. I might end up keeping this for me. We're having my birthday month on. So I need to cut some of this off. Where am I going to cut to? Grab your pencil. I want enough to tuck under. So first I might cut a bit more off than I think. I'm going to cut it to there. Grab the trimmer back. Do you know something? Although it was easier to stick the paper on before putting the fabric on, I think it's easier to choose my page after putting the fabric on. Don't know why, just is. So that's now how that's going to be. And do you know what? I do like that. Let's fold it over. I'm not sure that fabric's utterly straight on that side. Let's turn it over and try it this way. I'm going to have to peel that back a little bit, because on this side we've glued it a little bit further in. How's the fabric not quite do you know it? It's straight enough, isn't it? A blind man'd be glad to see it. I think that's the gist of it. Yeah, that's it. I like it. That's how it's going to be. I'm having it on that side. Right, I'm going to grab my ink and I'm just going to ink the edges of the book page a little bit. If I'd not had to cut any off that edge, I maybe wouldn't have done it, because it's got the natural, well, I'm saying natural, the aging is actually printed. I think it's the natural aging from the original journal of Edith Holden that is then printed onto the book pages. I can't remember if I rounded the corners, but do you know what, I'm not gonna. Right, that's, yes, I think that's enough inking, maybe a bit more above the march. Yeah. And I'm going to glue this one on with Kalal, because I am. Ooh, I've got a pin out of my Kalal stuck to my finger. Yeah, I want a bit more wiggle room to slide it under, that's why. So come on. Do you know what, I may even spread this out a little bit with my school glue spreader, just to make sure it's nice, and you know, it being such a big area and it's going on the front of my book. I've seen Fiona at Miss Paint a lot spread it out. Oh yeah, use a bit less glue spreading it out. Very frugal, Fiona, very frugal. But we don't worry if this squidges over the edge when we put things on, because it rubs off so easily. I'm quite away from the edge, so do you know what I'm going to do on the edge? I'm going to pop some of my 3-in-1 on from my little glue. You can use 2 glues. So this one's going to glue quicker than the collal, so we're not then going to have it moving when we don't want it to. There we go. I think I need a little bit more on that edge, just a smidgen. While I've been faffing with collal, with 3-in-1, this collal's started to dry and got a little bit tacky, and it just tends to stick better like that. So here we go, let's slide it under. Looking good. Oh yes. I do amaze myself sometimes when I do something that weren't planned and it works first time. I don't think I'm ever going to lose that feeling. I used to do cross stitch and I never lost that feeling with cross stitch. When something came out looking like the pattern, it was like I weren't expecting it to ever come out looking like pattern. When it did, I was like, wow, that were unexpected then. Right, oh, I'm quite happy with that. Yeah, I like that up front. So there's our front. I'm liking it. I'm now going to go ahead and, do you know what, I'm not going to do the back just because the video's long enough. We know it's going to go there. We know we're going to cover up some of the daffodil buds. I'm going to go ahead and put the glue on the inside. The fabric. It's another one of them, what would I say if I could talk moments. Right, so we made it slightly narrower. Don't know why, because we're not going to see any of it. We're going to put the paper on top of the fabric. So let's come in again with our 3-in-1 and glue it down. Oh. Whee. Squidge it on. I'm not going to be brave and use my finger, I'm going to use my glue spreader again. Again, it's on top of acrylic paint, so it moves around quite easily. It's I reckon acrylic paint. That's my centre done. I'm going to put a little bit extra in these ridges. Obviously, if you were using a much thinner fabric, you'd have to be much more careful about spreading this out evenly than I'm doing. I'm going to have to do this bit with my finger. Yak, yak, yak. Then I'm going to put a little bit down here. A little bit, she says, putting loads on. Oh, be brave, use your finger because others drying. It does take longer with glue spreader. I just don't like the feel of it. Really do not like it. Again, we can always put some more under the edge. I've not put anywhere the fabric is yet. Right, let's lay that on. It's all guesstimation and eyeballing this. Want it roughly even gap at top and bottom. And that's rough. We're going to cover it anyway. I'm more interested in my gap at the top and bottom than anything, so I'm happy with that. Rub it down, press it into the crease a little bit, and there we go. Put some lids on some glues, put some pins in some glues. I'm terrible for not doing that. I hope you can still see it's getting dark here now. Oops. Pinning. Then I'm going to grab my damp cloth to clean my finger. Oh. It don't rub off as much as peel off. Oh. Come here. Oh, it's coming off now. Right, so that's that. I'm going to grab my 3-in-1 again, so I'm going to have to use my finger. Whoa. Now I'm going to put it on here. The reason I didn't do this at first is because it would have just soaked into the fabric and then it wouldn't have stuck. So I'm going to spread a little bit out. Can you see? I really don't like it. What am I like? And there we go. Yeah, it's not come through. This is a very good fabric for that. And the same at the bottom. Do you know, I've got a cup of tea here. I've had it here since I started. I've taken into account the amount of time I've been filming, plus the amount of time I was looking at Edith Holden pages, ahhing and dithering off camera. I bet it's stony cold. I'll rub that in. Then I'm going to press that down. There we go. Quite happy with that. Pull that thread off. Yeah, that's good. We've got that thing. I'm going to have a drink of my tea. Is it cold? Oh, not too bad. I think we'd call that lukewarm. But it does the trick. Get rid of that thread. Right, get the glue off my finger. I think it's better if I don't put damp cloth on it. Just ball it up and peel it off. I'm going to stop moaning about that glue on my finger now. Right, so I'm going to come in with these 2 pages I decided I wanted to use for the inside. If I can find where they've gone. Where have they gone? Tell me I haven't lost one. We wanted to use the swallows, didn't we? There's one. I think I may end up keeping this, you know. Here we go, there's other. I might sell it, might keep it. I really can't decide. So it's just deciding which way around we want them now, isn't it? I think I want those swallows on the front. Yeah, we're just going to have to trim a little bit off each side. And I want those swallows in the back. Yeah. So I'm going to come in with my paper trimmer. Again, I always trim down this bit first. Then I'm just going to blindly trim a little bit off here. And then I'm going to see what I've got to work with. Because I know I need to trim a little bit off. Right, then let's see. I'm going to need a little bit more. Can you see how it's getting stuck? So again, I'm going to go with, I think I'm going to go with this edge first. So then, if possible, I can keep that number in the top corner. I do like it. Again, it still needs a bit more off because as you close the book it's getting stuck. So we're going to have to get perilously close to this number. I don't like it when you cut halfway through a number. I like the number there or not. Oh, a smidgen more off this siding with there. I suppose I could have, yeah, I could have measured it, but it's when I'm wanting to get the picture exactly where I want. I just end up nibbling bits off. I'm a nibbler. Oh, I'm happy with that now. That's perfect. Yeah, I love that. So, let's do this page for the back inside. You've seen everything you need to know off this video now. I always let people know just here for what to do when they can leave. Yeah, you can go now. Class dismissed. Now I'm going to lose that number because we've got a slight tear on the corner. Oh, if I lose all the number, I can still keep the number. and get rid of the tear. It'll be as close cropped as that other one was. Yeah, we're just going to leave part of that weed. And we need to lose a little bit more off there. Then we're done. Now this time I'm going to make sure it's the same width as that one. Ooh, not much to lose at all. Oh, can you see what I did then? I swapped pages. Haha, that wouldn't have been good, would it? Just going to use my other page to measure. Smidgen more, methinks. I've just moved it completely now. What am I like? That'll be good. Right. Oh yes. So that's our back inside cover. That's our front inside cover. Oh, I love it. Woohoo! Now, I'm gonna stick my... Oh, that would have been good. Can you see what I did there? I got it upside down. Yeah, don't go upside down. All this twisting and turning. I'm going to bring my daffodil page back in. And now that fabric's glued. I'm going to stick it on. Right, we've got to decide how much to cut off, haven't we? We can lose again a smidgen, I think, next to his tail. Just a smidgen. Not too much. There you go, we've just got little Mr. Chaffinch's tail on. And then I think to the edge, to the end of where it says before. Let's chuck that in and see how it is. Oh, that'll be perfect. I just need to peel that back a smidgen more in the middle so that it will tuck under. Oh, that'll be perfect. Oh, I do like that. Isn't it weird? Though they're the exact same pages I used on the one for my custom order, but I've just used them the opposite way around. You maybe think it looked better the other way around. I just wanted to do something a bit different. Right, let's ink that edge a little bit. About the same amount I inked the front. And I'm going to stick it on with exactly the same glue. So yeah, it's just me waffling and finishing this off now on this video. Yeah, that's it. In fact, you know what? You've seen how I glue. You've seen how I cut my pages to size. So do you really want to sit here and watch me glue some pages on? I'm going to say no, because this has gone on long enough with all my fappage and wafflage. And I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. The next video, which I've already filmed on the original journal, you will see me punch the holes. I'll just be showing you how I measure it, what I punch them with, and yeah, and then you will have the cover completed. I'll then do another video showing you how I decorate my booklets for inside, but again, you don't need to watch that if you just want to know how to make the cover. But anyone who loves Edith might just want to pop along and watch it. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope you've learnt something. I hope you've learnt how not to do it, and also what to do if you make a mistake, because most mistakes can be rectified, can't they? So thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.